The lighthouse keeper's boots crunched over salt-flaked gravel as he approached the iron gate, its rusted hinges weeping black ichor. The town below lay shrouded in fog, chimneys exhaling smoke that smelled of burnt hair. Inside the tower, his predecessor's journal lay open on the desk, pages scrawled with a single phrase. "The light is not a light." By midnight, the wind carried voices in a tongue that scraped like glass. The new keeper traced the spiral etched into the lens, a symbol mirrored in the journal's margins, and noticed the sea beyond had turned pitch black. No stars, no moon. At 2:17 a.m., the fog parted to reveal the town's windows glowing crimson, like eyes. He stumbled into the storm, the journal's latest entry warning. "Do not let it see you first." The townspeople stood in doorways, their mouths stretched into grins that didn't reach their eyeless sockets. One hissed, "You're late." In the lighthouse's basement, he uncovered a stone altar, its surface carved with the same spiral. A child's doll sat atop it, its porcelain skin cracked, one hand clutching a key. The journal's final page fluttered to a drawing of a figure with a lantern for a head. As the storm peaked, the lighthouse's generator sputtered. He activated the light, its beam piercing the dark, and the figure from the journal materialized in the beam, its lantern face grinning. The townspeople surged forward, their bodies dissolving into smoke that coiled around his ankles. The journal's truth struck then. The light wasn't a prison. It was an invitation. Every vanished keeper had become part of the light's cycle, their souls fueling its hunger. The figure tilted its head. "Your turn," it whispered, and the key in the doll's hand began to burn. He fled to the harbor, the light's beam now painting the water with spectral shapes. Specters of keepers gone before him, their hands outstretched. The doll's key fit into the lighthouse lock. He turned it, and the spiral lens cracked. The figure dissolved into a scream as the light dimmed. Dawn broke over the silent town, the sea calm. The keeper stood at the edge of the pier, his reflection in the water showing eyes that glowed with the same spiral. Somewhere in the distance, a lighthouse blinked to life. The harbor's stillness felt wrong. The keeper's boots left no prints in the damp sand as he walked, the sea lapping with a rhythm that matched his pulse. Behind him, the lighthouse's shattered lens glowed faintly, its spiral light extinguished, but not gone, just rerouted, now burning in his irises. He knew this because the doll's key had melted in his palm, and the townspeople's ashes swirled around him like moths, drawn to the new lamp inside him. A gull screeched from the rocks. He followed its cry up the cliff, past the rusted dock, where the last keeper's rowboat sat half-submerged. The journal's pages had warned of the transition, the moment when the light's hunger shifted hosts. Now he understood the phrase, "lantern for a head." The entity didn't just take the keeper's soul. It became the soul, wick and fuel and glass all at once. At the cliff's peak, the town sprawled below, its windows glowing like fireflies. But the lights weren't in the houses, they were in the people. Shadows moved behind panes, too synchronized, too hungry. The keeper's throat tightened. The townsfolk had always been part of the light's web, their bodies mere threads. Now he was the new anchor, their old master. A child's laugh echoed from the street below. He turned, and there she stood, the red-haired girl from the harbor, her doll clutched to her chest. Her smile didn't reach her eyes, which shimmered with the same spiral as his. "You're late," she said, voice layered with 1,000 whispers. The light needs a dance partner. He ran, not toward the sea, but inland, where the forest swallowed the road. The trees groaned as he passed, their bark etched with the same symbols that lined the lighthouse walls. The journal had called them beacons. markers for the next keeper's journey. But tonight, the beacons pulsed brighter, guiding him to the edge of the woods, where a second lighthouse loomed. Taller, older, its beams sweeping the northern shore. The door creaked open under his touch, though he hadn't carried the key. Inside, the air hummed with static, the walls lined with photos of keepers past, their faces blurred except for the eyes, each pair identical to his. At the room's center stood a pedestal holding a single object, a lantern, its glass darkened, but its wick waiting. He reached for it, and the girl's laughter echoed behind him. "You can't escape the dance," she sang, the entity's voice now, not the child's. The spiral in his eyes flared as the lantern's wick ignited and the new light cut through the night. On the shore, the first wave of townspeople began their march, shadows stretching toward the sea. The keeper smiled, his reflection in the lantern's glass showing a face that wasn't his, just another mask for the light. Somewhere far off, a third lighthouse blinked to life. The third lighthouse's beam sliced the horizon, its glow reflecting in Henry's dilated pupils as he stumbled through the tide-slick sand. Behind him, the town's bell tower tolled without a bell, its hollow ring sinking to the rhythm of the waves. The shadowed figures had stopped marching. Now they stood knee-deep in the surf, their mouths open in silent screams as their bodies unraveled into ink-black tendrils. Henry's palm burned where he'd touched the lantern. The spiral in his eyes throbbed, and he realized too late the truth etched in the journal's final page. The light is not a prison. It is a contract. The girl's voice coiled around him, sweet and fractured. "You're the first to finish the dance," she purred, her form materializing in the lantern's glow. A child's face, a 1,000-year-old void behind it. The symbols on the beacons flared, and Henry understood. The keepers hadn't been sealing the entity away. They'd been feeding it, their bodies fuel for the light's eternal cycle. The first keeper's disappearance wasn't a failure. It was the ritual's completion. His own hands trembled as he gripped the lantern. The wick sputtered. The tide surged. The tendrils from the shore lashed toward the town, but the new lighthouse's beam held them at bay. Henry's breath hitched. The light wasn't a prison. It was a barrier, powered by the keeper's life force. Turning it off would unleash the entity. Yet leaving it on meant becoming its host, a living battery in an endless relay. The girl's laughter dissolved into a sob. "You were never supposed to choose," she whispered, her hand brushing his cheek. The symbols on his skin burned. A crack split the air. The third lighthouse's beam dimmed, then died. Across the bay, a fourth lighthouse flickered to life. Henry staggered toward the sea, the lantern's glow dimming with each step. The tendrils recoiled, hungry. He could see them now, the faces trapped in their depths, fragments of past keepers screaming silently. The journal's author had written of a dance, but there was no rhythm here, only consumption. The girl's voice was gone. The water reached his waist. The lantern's wick guttered. Henry hurled it into the surf. The light extinguished. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then the sky split open, a soundless rift tearing above the bay. The entity's true form spilled down, a nebula of teeth and eyes, a storm given flesh. The girl's face swam in its core, smiling. The townspeople's shadows swirled around it, now part of the storm. Henry sank into the black, the spiral in his eyes fading as the entity's tendrils coiled around his throat. In the distance, a fifth lighthouse blinked on,